I bet you don't even know why I do this whole like that and that. That's all part of the Batusi. Yeah. That was in the first episode of Batman, starring Adam West. Uh yeah, so every time I do that, I'm doing the Batusi. Yeah, the Batusi. Yeah, and you know, the funny thing about the first episode of Batman, the 1966 series, is the first episode was Batman, and he goes into a nightclub, and Batman is such a freaking Boy Scout that the nightclub won't let anybody under the age of 21 in. And like Robin at the time is like 16 or 17. So, Batman and Robin are really, going to go in and rush the club and get in there. And like Batman's like, no, Robin, you're not old enough to go in there. I'm going to have to go at it alone. And then Batman goes into the nightclub, and he doesn't accost people. He doesn't like say, "Hey, you need to tell me." He starts doing the Batusi, little 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 dance. That was like a dance created by Adam West for Batman. And what's hilarious is that in the first episode of Batman, Adam West as Batman, as like a dyed in the wool like hunter, like like vigilante. He goes into the bar, and then the first thing that happens to Batman is he meets a girl, and then he gets roofied. Yeah. So Batman won't let Robin into the bar, and then Batman goes and gets roofied. Yeah. And that's brilliant writing. And then Robin, even though he's, in the Batmobile, which should be one of the safest things out there, Robin gets captured too. And so some epic duncery right there. But really, I gotta say, the worst show on TV has got to be hands down Batwoman. Yeah, that's the worst show of all time. And in the second season, it got even worse. So, if you're not familiar with Batwoman, in the first season, Batwoman, she was Kate Kane. Kate Kane was Batwoman in the first season. And then the thing with Ruby Rose, who played Kate Kane, she had a lot of nobody's commenting in the chat. Comment in the chat, guys. I would love to hear your questions. I want to hear anything you guys say. But yeah, in the first season, Batwoman, Kate Kane was the lead character. And due to like some work issues and some back issues, Ruby Rose got hurt really bad during one of her shoots, and they said, "You know what? I can't do this anymore. It's way too taxing on me. I don't like living in Toronto. There's too much work. I'm working like 12-hour days." And it's like, come on, you're the lead character in a Batman TV show. I mean, I know it's taxing. You just need to tell, hey, just if you can't do a stunt, say, hey, I can't do this stunt. Like, and Ruby Rose actually got some discs in her back. She actually got some discs in her back herniated, and she even filmed the. Why am I not seeing streams? Why am I not seeing the top chat? I don't know what's going on here. Is nobody commenting? Oh, there we go. All right. How am I tonight? I'm good. Hey, man. Hey, Bimbo. So, yeah. So, Ruby Rose bowed out in the first season. Hello, Dream. What up, the dude? The dude says Randall Dunn. So yeah, Ruby Rose bowed out, so they had to write her character out of the story. Put on live chat. Yeah, I just did. I got you now. So yeah, and then in the second season, they said, "Oh, you know what? Kate Kane got kidnapped, and then she was in a plane crash, and now Javicia Leslie is now playing Batwoman, and she's been Batwoman for the entire second season, and now Randy's straight up lounging, yeah." So Javicia Leslie is now playing Ryan Wilder, who is the new Batwoman. They didn't recast Ruby Rose, but near the middle of the series, yeah, they did recast Ruby Rose, and they've got a totally new person. I don't know what her name is, but Javicia Leslie's character was originally supposed to be a drug runner. You know, she was supposed to be a drug runner who lived in a van down by the river with her plant, you know. And one of the stupidest things about this show is that eventually, later on in the series, we find out that this plant is like some mystical, magical Jesus plant cure all that can cure basically anything. Like, there's been shows with people with leukemia, and the plant just magically cures that. And then, like, Ryan Wilder was dying from a kryptonite bullet infection, and and that and the magical plant cured that. And then during the second season, um one of the main characters gets poisoned, and her mother gets poisoned, and the magical Jesus plant cures that too. So basically, this plant can cure anything, and it's a magical plant. It cures anything, no matter what it is. Like, really, honestly, if this plant existed, it would be the most important like plant on the entire planet. Randy, where do you spend most of your time during the day? What's your workstation? Where's my workstation? My workstation is right over there. You can see it right over there. So yeah. But what do I do most of the day? I I sleep until like 1 or 2 p.m. And then when I wake up, I just do whatever my mom tells me to do. You know, today I got my medication, went down and got some of that, and then I wrote a little bit, and just a little book update. I have finished writing my magic book. Uh, so I've got 2 books that are done. I've got Every Day is Magic, which is my novel. And then I've got The Tiny Book of Awesome Magic, which is a tutorial book. It teaches you how to do magic and how to do presentation and stuff like that. But and today I talked to my book cover guy. He works. He's in India, and I told him, "Hey, look, you know, I need to get this out fast. I need this by tomorrow. Can you do it?" And he said, "Yeah, no problem." And I told him, "Yeah, I got a bet with one of my friends, so it is absolutely important that you get this cover out ASAP." So he said, "Yeah, that's cool. I'll do it. I'll do your book." So the cover of Every Day is Magic. What I have for that is I want it to be like a bunch of like random cards all face down except for one, and the one face up card is like an ace of diamonds. Now here's my thing with this book is like, number one, I'm going to sell this book whenever I go out to karaoke and stuff because uh nice. Is this one going to be available on Amazon? Yes, and yes for the other book too. They're both going to be available on Amazon. You can buy them. You will be able to buy them on paperback, and you will be able to buy them on Kindle. So whichever works best for you, it will be available. Is your book called Friendship is Magic? No, it's called Every Day is Magic. And so the reason I have the cover concept the way it is is because I do a trick called the book test where I make people pick between 4 books, and I'm going to make people pick the Ace of Spades, and then make them choose the book, and then like flip it over, and there's the Ace of Spades on the cover of the book. Oh man, yeah, that planned, and it's your book. That's amazing. So yeah. And then the other book E is called The Tiny Book of Awesome Magic, and it's going to be a tiny book. I'm going to have him make it really small. It's only going to be like 37 pages, but it's going to be worth it. Some of the tricks, I take you step by step through all the tricks, and there's 14 of them, and and I take you through the presentation, number 1, so you know how to like display the tricks and do them correctly. And most of the book isn't the magic tricks. Most of the trick is like presentation and how to be professional, and things that you should keep around you at all time if you want to get a job in magic, or if you want to do magic. And I also give people some information that Master Magician Todd Bogue gave me, and just relaying some of that stuff. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So back to Batwoman again. I don't know if y'all caught this, but the reason I do this is because of the Bat-2C. Like that was in the first episode of Batman, the TV series. But we're talking about Batwoman. This show is one of the worst shows on television. Now, to give you an understanding of how bad this show is, I like a lot of really bad, horrible movies. Like Mortal Kombat 2. I love that movie. I would watch that movie right now. In fact, if I can find it after this, I'll watch it right after the stream. And then like another horrible movie that I like that everybody hates, Super Mario Brothers. I freaking love Super Mario Brothers. Like I thought Super Mario Brothers was the shit. It bears no resemblance at all to the video game. None whatsoever. But I love that movie. I love The Room with Tommy Wiseau. That's one of my favorite movies. I think I bought that on YouTube Movies, so I paid for that. And then another movie I love that everybody hates, Daredevil. Everybody hates the Ben Affleck Daredevil. I think it's amazing. I love it. And I think some of the camera work in there is pretty tricky and pretty awesome. So that just gives you like the trauma movies, like Class of Nukem High. I like that. Sergeant Kabuki Man. Love that. Toxic Avenger. Love that. There was even a German film called Killer Condom. And what freaks me out about that movie is like every single time they say condom, they like really over enunciate it. They're like condom, So that gives you like a starting point to realize how bad the movies I like actually are. And for a while, for the first season and most of the second season, I was like, wow, this show is so bad it's good. But after a while, there were just so many things. I actually felt insulted by Batwoman that some of the writing is so lazy and bad that they're like, we don't. I mean, it seems like the writers just don't care. It seems like they do not care whatsoever. I'll show you the pics of all the times I met Tommy. Oh, you met Tommy Wiseau? That's awesome. I see him all the time around here. Nice. I love Tommy Wiseau. Yeah. Tell Tommy Wiseau Randy Brown says hi, because I think he's awesome. Yeah. And I loved The Disaster Artist. I thought that was a great movie too. And all of Neil Breen's films, of course. I've got some Breen stuff coming sometime in the next week or so. I've got 2 ideas for 2 new episodes, and they should be pretty easy to film. But yes, so more Breen on the way. And then again, I've talked to my guy in India. He's making a cover for me right now I hired him at like 10 p.m. my time, and he says he has 1 day delivery. So he says he should be done by tomorrow. And if this guy's on the level and if this guy's good, I'm going to hire him to do the other cover. Yakvo Petrovich Goldyakin Sr. says, Randy, Yakvo, what up? The dude, E. What's going on, man? So yeah, Bimbo, Yakvo, yeah. I'm not gonna say what the dude said because I don't want to, you know. But anyways, so yeah, Batwoman. The show is just so insulting to the viewer's intelligence, probably because not a lot of smart people watch Batwoman. But hey, how are you, Yakvo? Yeah, Batwoman has just got so bad. Like, number one, there's a character called Beth Kane. She is the sister of Batwoman's character, alter ego Kate Kane. And Beth has just randomly murdered so many people. And in the first season, Kate just like, oh, you're my sister, I'll forgive you. And she straight up just like brutally murders some people. Like sometime in the first episodes of the second season, she just straight up throws a knife at a guy, it sticks in his neck, and he just bleeds all over Wayne Manor floor. Like seriously, she is just straight up brutally, cold-bloodedly murdered at least 30 people. You know, and not for good reasons. Not like, oh, she was about to give away my big secret. No, she just murders a guy just because she doesn't like him. She just stabs him in the neck, and she's murdered like some innocent parents. There was an elderly couple in like the second or third episode that she just straight up murdered for no reason whatsoever. I'm just yanking your chain. Don't yank my chain. It is attached to my puppy. No, yeah. One good thing in Enterprise, other than T'Pol, is Archer's Beagle. Yeah, if you're a dog person, yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, there's just so many stupid things in Batwoman. I really feel insulted by the writers. You know, like, hey, you know what? Our audience is dumb, so we're just going to put out just dumb stuff. I am a dog person. I'm a cat person. And I'm not saying that to be contrary. I like cats. They're nice and fluffy, and when you pet them, they feel good. And, you know, I'm sitting next to a dog right this second. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult your dog. Tell your dog I am sorry. I would love a cat. Yeah, cats are cool. And cats are a lot more self-sufficient than dogs are, you know. Like you could leave a cat alone for like 2 or 3 days and the cat would be okay, you know, because the cat, you know, uses the litter box, and it, you know, you only need to clean the litter box out like once every 3 or 4 days. And then cats, they're very light eaters, you know. And I used to have like this like little tower thing that, you know, had like a week's supply worth of food. So you just dump the week's supply of food in the top, and then it could feed the cat for a week. And then when we would go and leave on vacation somewhere for like 1 or 2 days, we would just leave out like 4 or 5 bowls of water, and then the cat would just, you know, do that. Sherman Randy is sorry. He heard you say that. He went over to his toy and ripped up the photo of you. Oh, damn. Shit. Oh, goodness. Sherman needs to calm down. Calm down, Sherman. There was no need to do that. You know, yeah. Do you have a brother named Mr. Peabody, the dude? Or is your real name Mr. Peabody? I need to know. I need to know now. Oh, yeah. But yeah, Batwoman is so bad. And there's some things in the series that doesn't make sense. Like, Kate Kane, she had a funeral, even though the body was never found. And the plane crashed right next to the new Batwoman's van down by the river, and she lives with her plant. And yeah, so the plane crashed, and the suit was just lying on the ground because obviously it wasn't packed obviously it wasn't packed in a suitcase. It wasn't in a protective like envelope or something. Like, as you know, like a super suit. Oh, and that's another thing about Batwoman. Uh, in the show, uh, Batwoman's costume is Batman's costume modified to fit a woman. And apparently in the Batwoman universe, the bat suit is impenetrable. It's the strongest suit of all time. Like, you could shoot a bullet at a person and the bullets just bounce off. And then later in the second season, we find out that there is a bullet that can pierce the bat suit, and that bullet is a kryptonite bullet. And and this bullet is strong enough to pierce through what in the show is the strongest like armor of all time, even though like kryptonite bullets probably would shatter if they hit the bat suit. And then Ryan Wilder gets infected by the kryptonite for some reason. And then she goes to a doctor, and the whole time Ryan Wilder gets shot with a kryptonite bullet, like when she's in the Batcave, we see the wound, and the wound is like glowing because it's got like radiation in it and it's pulsing. But then when Ryan Wilder goes to the hospital, the wound isn't glowing, and the wound isn't glowing for some reason. I guess it glows when it wants to. And she and her lesbian girlfriend are sitting in the ER, and her girlfriend like grabs a doctor who is like, running around frantically trying to help other patients, and she's like, you know what, you need to help us now. And he's like, well, I got other patients, there's some people in the emergency room that need to be attended to. And she's like, no, you need to help us because we're more important than everybody else here. I'm like, okay. And then the doctor looks at the bullet wound and he's like, oh, so what caused this infection? And then Ryan Wilder is just like, oh, it was a spider bite. Yeah, I got bit by a spider. And here's the thing. I'm going to share a story with you. I actually got to talk to one of the top dating coaches in the US. And I bought a few of his programs, and I said, well, even though I bought your programs, I'm still not, getting what I want. And I told him, because, when you're talking to a professional, like someone like a doctor or a dating coach, you have to be truthful and honest with them. Because if you're not honest with your doctor, they can't help you. So I told the dating coach, well, I'm schizophrenic. So I think that's one of the major reasons, I've got like a lot of mental issues. And that's the reason why I don't think, your systems have worked for me so far. And, he was very nice, but he said, oh, you know what? I'm not a medical professional. I can't really help you because, I don't know if my systems will work for you, considering you've got this condition. So he let me down. He let me down easy, but I still was kind of PO'd that he said he couldn't help me, and he's like the top dating coach in America. But anyways, if you're talking to a medical professional, it is your job to be honest with that medical professional. You can't lie to your doctor, because if Ryan Wilder was actually talking to a real doctor and she said, oh, this is caused by a spider bite, well, then a real doctor is going to give you spider bite antivenom. And if you haven't been bitten by a spider and somebody gives you spider bite antivenom, that can make everything worse. can make everything worse. If somebody's injecting you with anti-venom and you don't have that venom inside you, that can hurt you in a big way. So not only do you have kryptonite bullet radiation in your veins, but now you have a spider bite anti-venom in your bloodstream that's probably going to make shit worse. And then her girlfriend turned it into a race thing. She's like, "Hey, look, I know why you're not treating my girlfriend. It's because she's the race that she is." And I'm like, "Okay, this dude is helping people in the ER. He's helping people who are like bleeding to death, that need to be operated on, that are in serious condition, and you're threatening to sue this doctor and turn it into a race issue." And on top of that, Ryan is not being completely honest with the doctor. I'm like, the level of stupidity in that show is just like staggering. And that was the first episode where I'm like, okay, if it gets worse than this, I'm out. You know, if it gets worse than that, I'm just gonna bounce. So, uh, Sherman, Randy is sorry. He heard you say that. Oh goodness, Sherman needs to calm down. But I do have a Mr. Peabody and Sherman t-shirt. Peabody is how I pronounce it. I actually like that Peabody and Sherman movie from a few years ago. I wish they'd make a movie like that of Secret Squirrel and Morocco Mole. I loved that show when I was a kid. The Secret of Nymph. Yeah, The Secret of Nymph. That was good. That The Secret of Nymph is when 2D animation was pretty much at its peak. You know, like I'm an animator, so I when I went to film school, I took 6 months of 2D animation, and I completed the 2D animation course. Don't think I just quit. Like um in Collins College, in the animation department, they give you 6 months of 2D, and then the rest of the 1 to 2 years is 3D. But 3D is really super difficult, and Fears just doesn't know. Like, you have to know a lot of math to do 3D things. Clear audience, what is the best animated movie you have seen? Ooh. Uh, if you're talking like quality level of animation, I would probably have to say lots of stuff by Don Bluth. I I was a really big fan of American Tail when it came out. The sequels were atrocious. The sequels were horrible. But American Tail was a good movie. I don't know if I would like it again because I've seen like recent reviews of American Tail, and there's a lot of like stereotypical stuff. But yeah, American Tail was really good. Have you ever seen Red Line? It's not one of the best, but it's really fun. I haven't seen Red Line. But yeah, but back to Batwoman. If you're not honest with your doctor, your doctor cannot help you. And second thing, if you're not honest with your doctor and you lie, that lie can hurt you, and that lie can actually be deadly, you know? Like Redline has fantastic animation. It's an anime movie about car racing, Randy. Really good. Oh, nice. Some of the best anime I've ever seen is Vampire Hunter D. I saw the old one and the remake. I like the old one better, but Vampire Hunter D is really good animation. There used to be the best animated TV series I've ever seen has got to be Aeon Flux. Aeon Flux was I think it was done yeah, Peter Chung did Aeon Flux, and Aeon Flux was a fantastic series. The movie sucked ass because the movie didn't follow the principles of the TV show. Aeon Flux is really great too. In Aeon Flux, Aeon died every episode, and then she came back in the next episode without any explanation whatsoever. And In the first like few seasons of Aeon Flux didn't say a word, and in the movie, she's a chatty Cathy, you know. And one of the things about Aeon Flux is, not only did Aeon Flux, I believe, like in the first like 3 or 4 seasons, the only word that she ever spoke was plop. You know, I think she was, like dropping a chemical in like petri disc, and she goes plop. And then also, the fashion was a little bit risque, but in the movie, but in the TV show, the outfits are off the hook. It's like really like sadomasochistic, like gimp, like bondage outfits. Like, and some of the outfits were really, really super skimpy. I could see why Charlize Theron would not want to wear those suits, but like those skimpy outfits were like 50% of the appeal of the show. And Peter Chung was an amazing artist. The production design on that show was off the hook. It was a future like none other. It was a dystopian future, and a lot of the animation was top quality, as Tommy MC would say. Top quality animation. Uh, I'm looking forward to picking up and reading the Vampire Hunter D omnibus of the books that's releasing later this year. That bit in Neon Flex where they make out and the guy gets a key from inside the pocket of her tooth always sticks with me. Yeah, I remember in one episode of the animated series, this guy had like a huge like heel on his shoe, and the heel opened up, and like a bunch of like angry wasps came out and attacked Aeon. And then Peter Chung, he hasn't done much other than that. The only thing other than the Aeon Flux show is I know he did the opening to Rugrats, and the opening to Rugrats is a sight to behold because like really it's shaky cam, and doing shaky cam and like moving around in a 3D environment when you're just drawing it like by hand 2D is amazing, shocking, and like I know a lot of people don't appreciate Rugrats, but that opening was amazing. I'm looking forward to picking up and reading. Oh yeah, I read that. And then the only thing other than Rugrats and Amflix that I know he did is he did a chapter of the Animatrix. The Animatrix was a really good animated DVD. If y'all can pick that up, definitely do it because it's amazing, especially if you like the Matrix. I believe some of the original voice actors voice some of the characters in the film. I know Carrie-Anne Moss did, and I'm pretty sure Lawrence Fishburne did too. Not too sure if Keanu Reeves did. But the Animatrix is awesome. It's a collection of 9 short films, and I believe 2 of them were actually written by the Wachowskis. And that's the thing about the Wachowskis is we can't call them the Wachowski brothers anymore because they have both transitioned, and now it would be more apt to call the Wachowskis sisters. But they don't have any cool abbreviation for sisters. So now, whenever the Wachowskis direct a film, they are just listed as the Wachowskis, and then when they get the writing credits, it's like Lily and Lana Wachowski, which is so weird because, if you look at the Wachowskis in The Matrix Revisited, which was the documentary documenting the making of the first movie, if you look at the interviews with them, like in the interviews, they are so butch and like manly, and then you see them as their alternate selves, and I'm like, wow, that's it's quite a transition, and I am really interested in seeing the next Matrix. Have you ever seen any Studio Ghibli movies? I believe I watched one in when I did the 2D course in I think I watched Spirited Away, but I really wasn't interested in it. I'm not saying he's not a good animator, but I just wasn't taken with the story, and it didn't stick with me. Whichever one I saw, I know I saw one Studio Ghibli movie, and I was just like, yeah, this is weird and interesting, but like it's not holding my attention. But again, I think I've only seen one. I think it was like Spirited Away or something like that. But yeah, it didn't stick with me. Uh, like the top animes that I love are like animes from the 80s. Like there's this one called Dominion Tank Police, and that was a good series. Basically, in the future, the violence in the future gets so bad that the police can't just go around arresting people. They need tanks now. Like they need like huge tanks, and these aren't like slow, like heavy tanks. They're like lightweight, really quick speed tanks that can like zip around really fast and stuff. And then Vampire Hunter D was, when I first got introduced to anime, that was a big one. And then, one of the major animation things that I like, the animated TV series, was Liquid Television. Uh, and they, if you have HBO Max, they have most of them on there. Oh, nice! I do have HBO Max. I'll check it out. But yeah, Liquid Television had a lot of really cutting edge animation. Beavis and Butthead was on Liquid Television before they had their own show. Check out Perfect Blue. It's probably my favorite anime movie. A lot of influence for Black Swan came from Perfect Blue. Yeah, I'll check it out. Sometime in the next 2 weeks, I'll check that out. But yeah, Liquid Television. What up? What up, Dragon? Yo, Randy. What up, man? So, yeah, Liquid Television was a really good show. Not all, including my Suicide Squad video. Oh, you did one? That's cool. And obviously, I am very stupid because I just went back in my streams and I have two number 5 streams. So I went in the detail and I switched it from the last episode was number 6. So I switched it and corrected that. And this is episode 7. Hopefully, this will be the one and only 7th episode. Wasn't the Max from Liquid TV 2? I believe it was. What's funny is a lot of the really, really, really popular cartoons we have today were based on shows from other shows. Like The Simpsons didn't. The Simpsons used to be on a show called The Tracy Ullman Show. Tracy Ullman is a British comedian, and she would always end her episodes by, doing a little monologue to the audience, and she would go home, now go home. I was like, we're in our home right now. We don't need to go home. We're already there. But yeah, but The Simpsons was actually a segment on the Tracy Ullman Show, and then Beavis and Butthead and the Max and Aeon Flux, which eventually came its own series, all came from Liquid Television. And Liquid Television, they did all sorts of stuff. It was primarily animation, and actually the inspiration for the movie Office Space actually also came from the guy who wrote, directed, and voiced Beavis and Butthead, Mike Judge. And the story behind Office Space is it started out as a parody of one of his friends from work. He always knew this guy named Milton, and nobody would ever talk to him. So he thought, oh, you know what? I'll just go over to Milton and I'll try to hold a conversation, see what the guy's all about. And then he was very nerdy, and he kept talking about his stapler and how he wanted to build the building down. And then eventually, that character was played in live action, and whoever the actor was did a spot on job. They did a spot on job. And then Mike Judge has done a few other movies. Milton is the name of Idris Elba's character in Suicide Squad. That is incorrect, Dragon. Milton was the Mexican guy, and when Harley Quinn calls Idris Elba Milton, she is incorrect because Milton was the Mexican dude that came in with them and got killed in the thing. He was also the guy in the beginning of the movie where they ask him to show his he's driving the van and they ask him to show the papers. It's like, oh, hold on a minute here. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Because um Bloodsport's real name is like Robert Dubois. That was Bloodsport's real name that was played by Idris Elba was Dubois. Uh, did I enjoy Starro? He wasn't the most. He was kind of menacing. I didn't really think he was the most menacing character I've ever seen. It was ludicrous, you know. It was. I never would have made a starfish the villain of a film that I would do. You know, I wouldn't have it be a starfish or something. But yeah, he definitely was dangerous, but uh, he was an interesting character. And again, one of the things that I was disappointed with was the thinker, you know, because I love movies where characters are supposed to be geniuses because typically the person writing it isn't like a genius themselves. So sometimes they do really weird things. Star is based off the Japanese kaiju shown in Takahatsu shows like Godzilla and Ultraman. That's cool. And don't forget Power Rangers. Don't forget that. I think they had a starfish villain actually. But anyways, I had a really good point. Oh yeah, so one of the things is like in Limitless, Bradley Cooper's character, yep, Sentai and Kamen Rider, yeah, and then Kamen Rider eventually became Black Masked Rider or Masked Rider is what it was. And Masked Rider was actually played by flash in the pan guy named Ted Jan Roberts. Yeah, Ted Jan Roberts had some really horrible films like Tiger Heart. Although there was one movie that he did where he played a kid who was obsessed with ninjas. And I remember his uncle, which was played by Stephen First, said, "What are you doing in here?" And then he goes, "Oh, I was just practicing my ninja thoughts." And he's like, "Ninja thoughts? What are ninja thoughts?" And he goes, "Oh, well, ninja thoughts are where I'm in a room and I think of 10 different ways to kill people when I'm in the room. Like I'd use that like lamp and I'd like bust the bulb and like shove it into your eye, or I'd take the like extension cord and wrap it around you and choke you to death." I was like, that is freaking hilarious. Like Ted Jan Roberts is just sitting in a room thinking of ways to kill people with things around the room. I thought that was hilarious. Like, yeah, I'm just thinking of 10 ways to kill people. Yeah, just sitting around, just chilling out, having a good time. And I'm like, okay. I wonder whatever happened to Ted. Yeah, I don't know. He hasn't made any con appearances, which sucks. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what happened to him. Like at age 20, he just blipped off the radar, you know. But yeah, going back to the topic of geniuses in films, the funny thing about geniuses in films is, again, a lot of the people writing the films aren't real geniuses themselves. So some of the stuff they come up with is like ludicrous and dumb. Like there's a scene in Limitless where Bradley Cooper, he says something akin to yeah, I started out with $60 and then I doubled my money 4 times and ended up with $10,000. And I'm like, all right, if you double 40, 4 times, that that's not $10,000. Like, you don't come out with $10,000. And then in the Limitless TV show, which was good for like the first 2 episodes. In the first 2 episodes, Limitless the TV show was a thriller. But after the 3rd episode, they got really comic and comical. And a lot of the later episodes of Limitless, some of them were just straight up parodies of like romantic comedies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and James Bond and Casino Royale, and there was even like a Pretty in Pink one, and the lead character in that show was literally straight up paraphrasing some Matthew Broderick lines from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So when it became a comedy, I was like, I'll watch this just to see how dumb it is. Again, I love dumb shows. Like, dumb shows are my jam. But again, Batwoman just got so dumb that it became insulting to watch that show. But on Limitless, the show doesn't follow Bradley Cooper's character. He's in it for a little bit, but he plays second fiddle to the main character. But okay, and a little background on the drug NZT from Limitless. Okay, number 1, it's supposed to make you the smartest person alive. Like in the opening of Limitless, the movie, they say that, oh, I have a 4,000 IQ. And just to let you know, a genius IQ, like Albert Einstein, was like around 160 to 240. So in the show, in the movie, they say he has a 4,000 point IQ, and it's like, you would be God if you had that, if you were that smart. Like, you would be able to literally snap your fingers and manifest things out of your mind. But in the show, he takes the same pill. It's NZT 428 or NZT 48. And so it's supposed to give you recall. And like in the show, Bradley Cooper's character says, I can remember when I was in the womb when I take NZT. Like, I can remember like being in the womb and coming out and being an infant. I can remember all that. And then like later on in the show, the main character takes NZT, and there's a little joke in the show, and it's a major plot point as well. And he goes, oh, I always call these guys Mike and Ike, but I can't think of what their real name is. And it's like, in the show's continuity, you have met these characters like 50 times over like a 2-week period. You've met them 50 times. They're with you every day. You work with them every day. Even though you were calling them Mike and Ike, you work with them every single day. And NZT is supposed to give you a recall so good that you can remember when you were in the womb, yet you can't remember the real name of some guy that's been with you every day, 24/7, an hour, FBI agent watching you. You can't remember that guy's name. And, it's just dumb, stupid stuff like that. I tried looking up him on Facebook and Twitter, but no info. Yeah, he just dropped off the board. He just dropped off. What up, Yosef? Hey, Randy, what's up? What's the highest IQ you can have? Well, Dragon, that's a tough question, because what a lot of people don't know and what a lot of people don't realize is that there are multiple IQ tests, and they have a different scoring system, because there are some people who say, Albert Einstein had 160 IQ, then Albert Einstein was supposed to have 240 IQ, and I think the highest IQ that you can have on an IQ test, is 400. That's the highest I've ever heard of. But again, there are different IQ tests. They're not all the same. There's no standardized IQ test. Like, there's not an IQ test that, is used everywhere all the time. Like Mensa. Mensa is it's a group of smart people, and they only admit people who have like 130 IQ or more, and they have their own tests. But again, yeah, the tests for IQ are not standardized, and are and even the ones that are the norm, there are multiple different IQ tests to test your IQ in different areas. Like, I took an IQ test for visual and spatial recognition because I mean, I would naturally be good at that because I'm an artist and I've drawn all my life, and like art and visual, visual like drawing and doing movies and photography, like that's my life. I make a living on these eyeballs. It's very important that I see in order to do all my work. And I took a visual and spatial IQ test, and I tested off the charts. I had a 250 IQ for visual and spatial recognition. But I took an IQ test 2 times, and I took another IQ test 2 times, and the first IQ test I took came out 50, which is below mentally challenged. Like, if you have 80 or less, you are mentally challenged. But I the second time I took the IQ test days later, again I scored around 250. So, and a lot of the questions on the IQ tests are time relevant, because I remember I looked at I looked at what I got wrong, and they tell you why you got some of the answers wrong. And number one is because the Antarctic technically today is an ocean now, because the people who took the IQ test explained, well, now that the Antarctic is technically water, and even though it's ice, it's still water. So the Antarctic, it used to be a continent, but now it is technically defined as an ocean. So the Antarctic is an ocean, and that's one of the questions that I got wrong. And like, if you get one question wrong, that can skew you about like 7 to like 14 points, because there's only 20 questions in these IQ tests. So getting one question wrong can skew you in all different directions. And then another question that I got wrong was how many planets there were. Because the IQ test claimed that there were 13 planets. And again, like, the answer to this question is based on the generation that you were raised in. Because for a long time, the first 20 years that I was growing up, there were 9 planets. All right. But later in life, they said, oh, well, you know what, the asteroids technically count as planets too, and also there's a planet X that's beyond Pluto, like it's technically in our orbit and in our solar system, so that's technically a planet. And then they said the sun it's bigger than a planet, but it's still like big as a planet, so technically that's a planet too. And it's like, that's why I got those two questions wrong. And even if you, and here's the thing, go on Google and ask Google how many planets there are, and you will get like 4 different answers. Like, some say there's 7, some say there's 9, some say there's 12, some say there's 13, and they list tons of different stuff. And again, on the IQ test that I took, those are 2 questions I got wrong, and it's a 20-question test. So those 2 wrong answers could have skewed me like 14 to 18 points. So that's the thing. Uh, I think, come on, Dragon. Come on, Clairaudience. Be nice. Interesting. Probably. Be nice, you guys. Be nice. I'm not going to tolerate any drama. I'm not going to do that. I think that's Clairaudience. Come on now. But yeah, so on a 20-point test, getting 2 answers wrong can skew you in totally different directions. And again, I took the test twice, and On the first test, I got 50. On the second test, I got 250. So yeah. All right. The chat. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, the chat must look blank to him. Yeah. What? But yeah. So, and again, like I did take a visual spatial IQ, and another thing about intelligence is that number one of the things you've got to remember is IQ is not a determinant of how successful you'll be in life. Because Andy Warhol, the guy who did the soup cans and the guy who did the multiple pictures of Marilyn Monroe with all different colors, technically he had an IQ of 80. He was tested. He had an IQ of 80. He had a very low IQ, and anything under 80 or under is technically mentally challenged. But Andy Warhol was a very, very extremely successful artist. He had several books made about him. He had several movies based on his life, documentaries and fictional films. And his art is referenced like 25,000 times a day. And he's one of the greatest pop artist icons of all time. And again, he was super successful, but he had an IQ of 80 or under. And then also, there's a saying that says, unrecognized genius is almost a proverb. Like people with genius IQs that go on to do basically nothing in their life is very common. There's a lot of people who are prodigies, that were super smart when they were like 12 and 13, who went on to do absolutely nothing with their life. So number one, IQ is not determinant of how successful you will be in life. And the second thing is like later on in life, they decided that there's not just one form of intelligence. Now they have the concept of multiple intelligences. And they say there's like 8 or 9 different categories. Some are very good with art and photography. Some people are good at sports. Some people are really good at language and writing. Some people have superior mathematical and logical skills. Some people are very emotionally intelligent. Some people are really good speakers and can speak very fluently and articulate. And, so there's many, many, many different intelligences. And I believe that, everybody on the planet is, we all have a gift. Everybody on the planet is born with something that they're good at. Like, I don't think there's a single person on the planet who's not really good at something, even if it might be something dumb, like, like making like weird photographs or writing or whatever. Like everybody is born doing something really well. We all have talents. We all have skills. I think it would be very hard. You would be very hard pressed to find somebody who had absolutely no talent or absolutely no skill. Kanye West is a perfect example of that. He is an absolute dummy, but very successful. I think that's the smartest guy alive on record who works on a ranch. Yes, Exum Vision, you are correct. The man with the highest recorded IQ is called Chris Langan, and he now works on a ranch, but for a long time, he was actually a bouncer in a bar. And he said he wanted to be a bouncer in a bar because he loves people. He loves to observe people in their natural environment. And he said, I didn't get into a lot of fights, but when I was a bouncer at a bar, I got to observe people in a social setting and got to know their habits and their habits and their behaviors really well. And he actually wrote a book called The Cognitive Theoretical Metaphysics of the Universe. And I actually read that book, and it's a deep book, too deep for me. I couldn't understand most of it. He's talking about like existentialism and physics and mathematical equations. And I'm like, whoa, this is too much for me, but I'll try to slog through it. And I got halfway through the book before I said, this is too heady for me. I can't understand this, and it would be pointless for me to read it because I just can't grasp anything in this book. Uh, yeah, I read The Multiple Intelligences book by Howard Gardner. You're killing me, E. Exhumed Visions, LOL, and more than that. And that man was Albert Einstein. Gonna go in a minute. Gonna watch the new Marvel show. Which Marvel show is it? Loki, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What If? Let me know which Marvel show it is in Dragon. Yeah, that's over my head. Dragon's karaoke IQ is 420. That's hilarious. Oh man, you killing me, Dragon. You didn't know. Yeah. The What Ifs. Yeah. And What If is actually a comic from a long time ago. I remember reading What If magazine when I was like 8 or 9 years old. The What If brand is super, super old. I think it goes all the way back to like the 1970s or 1960s. And they had a really good run because like each if y'all aren't familiar with What If, basically in every What If magazine they would have like some sort of really high concept it was like Twilight, it was like Marvel's version of the Twilight Zone. And they would like have things like what if She-Hulk were two people, or what if Spider-Man got bit by a radioactive like lemur instead of like a radioactive spider. And the What If show the What If comic was really good. And they did a lot of versus things, like what if Spider-Man attacked Daredevil, or what if the Punisher killed Spider-Man. And what if that series was a really good series. And I really can't wait to see what they do with the animated series, because I heard a lot of the original actors are voicing the characters. And I also heard before he died, the guy that played Black Panther also did voices for 2 or 3 episodes. So that will basically be that guy's swan song. Who was the guy that played Black Panther? I can't think of his name right off the bat. But yeah, I heard he recorded 2 episodes before he died. So that will, those episodes will be his swan song. But yeah, and then I heard like Robert Downey Jr. is reprising some of his voice. Idris Elba. No, it's not Idris Elba. It's not. But yeah, the guy that played, I just remembered Ernest Goes to Hell. Oh, yeah. You just remember Ernest Goes to Hell? Yeah, I came up with that one, and I thought that was pretty funny. I think that would be an awesome Ernest movie if Ernest was still alive. The original concept for Ghostbusters 3 back in the 90s and the early 2000s was Ghostbusters Goes to Hell. They would literally go to hell. And what's weird about Ghostbusters is that Janine Melnitz, played by Annie Potts, actually says to Egon, I have a funny feeling that I think you're going to die. And it's really ironic that the actor in real life actually did end up dying in real life. I mean, I know eventually they were all going to die, but Janine called it. She said Egon's going to die. And ironically, he's the guy who died first, which is interesting. Ernie Hudson's still around. Dan Aykroyd's still around. Bill Murray's still around. And I really hope they don't screw up Ghostbusters Afterlife. what I've seen from the trailers, besides the Marshmallow Man, where all the Marshmallow Men are like cooking themselves, like the rest of that movie, to me, it feels like a Saturday morning cartoon and not like the real Ghostbusters Saturday morning cartoon. Like it to me, the new trailer looks and feels like the bad Ghostbusters. Like the first Ghostbusters cartoon that came out that had like the talking car and that had the ape that had like the jungle outfit on and the camera. Like the new Ghostbusters trailer looks like the bad Ghostbusters cartoon. With the haunted house and the puzzle that in the tile, like, and then like it's some country bumpkin town. I'm like, I didn't like Ghostbusters 2016, but they did right setting it in New York. Like you can have a Ghostbusters set in the country about as much as you can have a Superman story not set in Metropolis. Although, again, they did that with the last Superman show. Most of the show is set in Smallville, but if you're doing Superman, Superman has to be set in Metropolis. If you're doing Batman, Batman has to be set in Gotham. And for me, if you're doing a Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters has to be set in New York. Like to me, New York is like a character in and of itself in the Ghostbusters series. And I don't like most of what I've seen out of that out of those Ghostbuster trailers that I've seen. And then also a lot of the kids look androgynous. Like I can't tell whether this character's a boy or a girl, or that character's a boy or girl, or this character's a boy or a girl. Like they look like Robert Smith from The Cure. Like they they look androgynous to me. I can't tell if they're a man. They look like Pat from the SNL. I don't know whether it's a boy or a girl. I don't know. Uh and this just creeps me out. I don't like that at all. That weirds me out. I don't like that I don't like that aspect of that, you know. But anyways, uh you know, was Robert Smith The Cure? Robert Smith was from The Cure, right? And then he had like this long, like Tim Burton hair. But yeah, it creeps me out. And again, it feels like a Saturday morning cartoon. And then also another thing that I don't like is the Ghostbusters, the originals are nowhere in the trailer. Like at the end of the latest trailer, they have a hand pick up a phone and it goes Ghostbusters, and I'm not even sure who that is. I mean, it sounds like it could be Aykroyd, sounds like it could be Bill Murray. I know it's not Ernie Hudson because the hand was white that picked up the phone, so it's not Ernie Hudson. So it has to be Dan Aykroyd or Bill Murray. But I really, 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 really hope to God and I hope to hell that they don't pull a Force Awakens where like at the end of Force Awakens it ends up being like the lead characters in the first two movies are only in it for like 30 seconds. They don't have any lines and I'm like, if that happens, I'm going to be totally upset. Me and one of my Jehovah's Witness friends, we went to see Star Wars The Force Awakens. And my friend Curtis looks and sounds exactly like Cleveland Brown from Family Guy. And when we went in to see The Force Awakens, we basically went in blind. Like we saw the first trailer, we saw the second trailer, we stayed away from all spoilers. And Curtis, he was like, I don't know, Randy. I think we're going to see a lot more of Luke Skywalker than they're letting on. I really do. I think we're going to see it. It's going to be good. You just wait and see, Randy. You just wait and see. So, And then we went into The Force Awakens, and Luke isn't in the movie at all. He's in the movie for like 60 seconds. He doesn't say anything. He just turns around and takes the lightsaber. End of film. And if that happens with Ghostbusters, I'm going to be pissed. PO'd to all get out. That was weird how they put Leia in after she had died. Yeah, and J.J. Abrams, the guy who wrote the original Force Awakens script was the guy who wrote Little Miss Sunshine. And when J.J. Abrams took the Michael Arndt was the guy's name. He wrote Little Miss Sunshine. He wrote Toy Story 3 or 4. And Michael Arndt wrote the original script, and JJ rewrote it. And JJ said, I had to take the character of Luke Skywalker out of the movie for most of the movie because we found, the main character in the film is Rey. It's her story. She's the main protagonist. She's the head person in the film. And like we found that every time that Luke Skywalker was in the script, he just had too much gravity. He had too much weight. And, when Luke Skywalker was in the original script, he just pulled the focus away from so many people, so many other people in the cast that we're like, you know what? We're going to take Luke, we're going to sideline him, and then we'll follow his story in The Last Jedi, and we'll see what the next film has. And, we'll beef up his character in the second film. But yeah, but that's the reason why he was barely in The Force Awakens, because they said he just had too much gravity. Like when Luke Skywalker was in a scene, that scene became about Luke Skywalker. So they said we can't do that. We're making this not only for the Star Wars fans, but we're getting a whole new group of people in, and we want Rey to be the focus. So we're gonna have to sideline Luke. So he's only going to be in it. He's not even going to mention it. He's not even going to say a word in the entire movie. And Mark Hamill said very specifically when he was reading the J.J. Abrams script, he said, I was reading the script and I got to the scene on the Death Star planet where Leia, or no, not Leia. Finn gets sliced in the back. Rey is losing. And then we see the lightsaber. And I thought at that moment, the lightsaber starts to jiggle. And I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic. This is such a good callback. I know what's going to happen. That lightsaber is going to go flying through the air. I'm going to catch it and ignite it. And I'm going to save the day. And I'm going to look like a total badass. And then the lightsaber flies through the air and it goes into Rey's hand. And Mark Hamill, when he was reading the script, he was like, what? She's using the Force already? It took me 2 movies to learn how to move something with my mind. She hasn't even had any Jedi training whatsoever. And suddenly this 90-pound girl can hold her own in a fight with a trained, dyed-in-the-wool Sith master. And he said, that's bullshit right there. That's a bunch of bullshit. And then again, he doesn't speak during the entire film. And if that happens in Ghostbusters Afterlife, I am going to be livid. Livid. I hope that, I hope that they just go the full Monty, and I hope they bring Aykroyd back. I know Annie Potts is back because she's in the trailer. I hope they bring Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray. I hope Rick Moranis is in it. Because if you look at the mining site in the trailers, it says like Ivo Shandor Mines, and Ivo Shandor was the architect of the building in the first movie. And you can see Paul Rudd running away from like the monster in part 1. So Hopefully, I'm not boring the heck out of you. We only got 2 viewers right now. Sound off in the chat if you can, and whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about. As long as it's not a trolley topic, I will open it up for everybody, and y'all can have free reign to control this chat. I mean, I'm here for you, but I just looked at the time, and I usually only go for an hour. It's an hour 15 right now. I am going to go for another 15 minutes. But again, you two people who are in the chat, this is for you. I'm doing these streams for the people. So if you want to open it up to the chat, if you want to ask me a question, go ahead, let it rip. And as long as it's not like a totally trolly question, I will answer it to the best of my ability. Scout's honor, I promise. I'm trying to find the cover for an old What If comic I got one summer while camping. You jogged my memory. Yeah, that's the thing in Zoom Visions. They had a lot of really, really high concept episodes. Like I remember there was like a Venom versus Hulk. They went crazy with those things, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to talk with Fears. I'm like, Fears. I love your videos. I think they're great. What is the worst thing about Star Wars? Well, Tintin in Tibet, I think the worst thing about Star Wars is the worst thing about Terminator 6. I think it's the worst thing about Batwoman. I think it's the worst thing about Star Trek. And is the worst thing about the upcoming Bond film is that they are going woke. There's a saying, go woke, go broke. All right. And a lot of comic book companies are going woke. They're going very extremely feminist. And I just think woke is no, not that Tintin in Tibet. I'm not even gonna read that comment. People can read it in the chat. I'm not gonna read that, but no, it's not that. It's going woke, which is hardcore feminism. And it was really, really prevalent in Terminator 6. And James Cameron and Tim Miller, this is the problem with Star Wars too. But the problem with Terminator 6 is James Cameron and Tim Miller were making it for an audience who doesn't give a shit about Terminator. What is hardcore feminism? Sorry, I don't know that word in my language. Well, to me, in my own opinion, there's two types of feminism. All right. There's the good kind of feminism that says women should be treated exactly as men. That's the good kind of feminism. But the bad second kind of feminism is where people try to push their agenda like, oh, women are better than men at everything. And men are totally dirtbags and they're losers, and women can do better than men at everything, and we're so superior and we're so like better than men, like we can save the entire world and we don't need a man to help. So those are the two kinds of feminism. I would call myself the first kind of feminism. Like, women and men should be treated as equals. That's the kind of feminism that I would say I am. But that second kind of feminism is so prevalent in like the woke media. And that was the thing that was wrong with the sequel trilogy is, Rey was better than everybody at everything with no training whatsoever. She was stuck on that desert planet forever. She never left the planet. She never rode in a starship. And at the beginning of the first act of Star Wars The Force Awakens, not only does she fly the Millennium Falcon with no problem whatsoever, she flies it so well that she can outfly trained Imperial stormtroopers who are like versed and like taught from birth how to like fly TIE fighters and maneuver. And there's even a scene after that scene has ended where Rey comes out and she talks to Finn And she goes, "Oh my God, I couldn't believe did that. I never flown a plane before in my life. I just was so good at it for no reason." And I'm like, yeah. And the thing that's wrong with Terminator 6 is that Tim Miller and James Cameron were making that movie for an audience that does not care about Terminator. Because James Cameron and Tim Miller said, we're making this for 50-year-old women so that 50-year-old women can get in the franchise and so that 50-year-old women can, so they can have a hero that they can look up to and some, badass 50-year-old woman that, can be the symbol of 50-year-old women out there. And here's the thing. Number one, 50-year-old women don't give a damn about Terminator. 50-year-old women aren't flocking to the theaters to see a shoot 'em up movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger about time traveling cyborgs that kill people from the future. Like, they're James Cameron and Tim Miller made that movie for an audience that doesn't give a damn about Terminator and never will. The only 50-year-old woman that is concerned about Sarah Connor being in Terminator is Linda Hamilton, because that's her paycheck. That's how Linda Hamilton eats. Like, Linda Hamilton isn't doing anything else right now except Terminator. That's like, Terminator is the only paycheck that Linda Hamilton has had in like 20 years. She was in Terminator, she was in Beauty and the Beast, she was in Mr. Destiny, and then after that, Linda Hamilton dropped off the radar for about 20 years. The only 50-year-old woman that cares about Terminator is Linda Hamilton. In my country, we have a saying that goes, "It is the law of nature that women should be held under the dominance of men." Yeah. I have no comment on that, but yeah, aren't going to flock to see that. You're pandering to the wrong demographic. It's not a demographic that's going. That's like a. I don't even have an analogy for what that's like. So we're at 1 hour 22 minutes. I'm gonna go for about another 8 minutes. Again, the chat, I'm here for you. So if you got a question, let her rip. If it's not a trolley comment, I will answer it to the best of my ability. Scouts honor, I promise. Another is proper wife should be. Oh, damn, Tintin. Oh, damn. Yeah. But yeah. And then again, I'm not against feminism. I think there is a good kind of feminism that says women and men should be treated as equals. That is what I am for. That is the kind of feminist that I would describe myself as. But the second kind of feminism is like women are better than men at everything. We're better at men at everything, no exception. And like, they're saying stuff that isn't true. Like, women are physically stronger than men, which is not true at all. So you're not better at everything than men are. It's not true. If you take even me, if you asked 100 random women on the street, and I'm a weakling, like, I'm not strong at all. But if you asked 100 random women on the street, and I'm talking random, I'm not talking people you selected from like a fitness gym or like super jacked women, but if you took like 100 random women off the street and said, okay, you're going to have an arm wrestling contest with me, I guarantee you I would win 95% of that strength contest. I guarantee you. And, again, I think women should be treated equals to men, but saying women are better than men at everything is not true. I'll have to put a whip in Tintin's birthday box. My girlfriend would want one of those. Oh, yeah, very funny, clairaudience. Yeah, but again, and then there's this whole pay gap thing that the feminists are talking about, and the reason that there is a pay gap is because there are tons of jobs and occupations that women not only aren't suited for, but women would not want to do a lot of the jobs that men do. That's why there's a pay gap. Like women would not be happy as a bricklayer, all right? And almost 90% of people who put their lives on the line, like soldiers, police officers, firemen, 90%, or well, I think there's like 14% women in the American military, but you know, women would not be happy going and into other countries and killing people, or going into the hood and killing random people, and there's just tons of jobs that women wouldn't want, you know? Women wouldn't want to be a bricklayer. Women wouldn't want to be a construction worker. I mean, I I have not met, and I can say this with 100% accuracy. I have not met one woman who said, "Randy, I want to be a bricklayer when I grow up," or "Randy, I want to be a construction worker when I grow up." Never heard any woman ever in my entire life say those two things. Never have I ever. So there you go. So, and that's why there's a pay gap. Women would not like some of the jobs that we do. They just they would think it sucks, you know? And so I'm tackling heavy issues here. So I think we should get back to the really dumb, stupid stuff like Batwoman. So I'm going to talk about Batwoman for the next 4 minutes. And then again, if y'all have any comments, any really real questions that are not trolly, I will do my best to answer them. And if it's a good question, I might extend my runtime for a little bit. But yeah, Batwoman is woke. In the first episodes, now here's the thing with Batwoman. Batwoman just suffers. This is the main problem with Batwoman. Not that it's a woman, not that a woman is powerful, but the main problem with Batwoman is a plain, flat out disrespect for the source material. One of the main things that got Batwoman in trouble in the first place was in the first episode of Batwoman. Kate Kane finds the Batcave. She decides that she is going to have her assistant change the bat suit so it fits a woman. And there's even a line in the show that says, Luke Fox, Lucius Fox's son, says the bat suit is literal perfection. And then Kate Kane literally busts out with this line. She goes, it will be once it fits a woman. And it's like right there, you're shitting on Batman. You're shitting on the source material. This could have been a really good, decent show. And also in the show, Bruce Wayne character just up and left Gotham. Like he doesn't care. He does not care about Gotham. He's like, you know what? We'll leave Gotham to its own devices. There's tons of criminals running around. I don't care. I'm just gonna bolt for no reason whatsoever. And I'm not even gonna leave a reason. I'm not even gonna. Is Batwoman a hardcore feminism show? I would say so. Yeah, I would say I would say yes. And then there's another quote that Kate Kane has. She basically did like her first or second run as Batwoman. She did like her first and second mission. And Luke Fox says, so you're really just like playing a superhero. You're not really a superhero. And she straight up goes, well, I'm not going to let a man take credit for a woman's work. And it's like, holy crap, is that such a dumb statement? All right. Number one, you go into Batman's Batcave, You take Batman's gear, you take Batman's suit, you take Batman's gadgets. Later on in the show, you steal Batman's car and use it for yourself. And you're claiming that you're the one who's done all the work. Did you build the Batcave? Did you did you were you the one fighting in Gotham for like 20 years before Batman left? No. Women's work my ass. This is your second mission out as Batwoman. You are not going to sit there and take 100% of the credit for saving Gotham when Batman has been saving Gotham for the last 20 years. All right. And the thing is that this show had the potential to be a good show. It's not going to be. No matter what they do, this show will not get saved. Like I guarantee you the third season is probably going to be the last season. I guarantee it. But the reason why Batwoman is bad, and it's not even because of the feminism. It's not even because of the whole like, oh, the female empowered thing. The thing that makes Batwoman bad is just the plain disrespect for the source material. Just plain straight up disrespect. Disrespect for Bruce Wayne, disrespect for Batman, and disrespect for all the Batman fans who have followed Batman and been loyal fans throughout the years. And yes, my mom ripped up my brother's copy of Catwoman #1 because she said the outline of her nipple through her suit. Yeah, that's why I like Catwoman. She is sexy and hot. But Exhumed Visions has a comment to my comment, and he says that is typical. And yeah, so I think I've covered a wide range of stuff. Again, we were talking about the worst show on television. That would be Batwoman, hands down. Again, plain disrespect for the source material, for the fans. You know, if they would just be more respectful, they'd just be like, you know, Batman was a pillar of the society. I am just a humble person. He gave me everything that I now have to fight crime. I'm going to honor him and I'm going to live up to his legacy. You know, how could they do that to Batman? It's, you know, somebody once said on one of the other Sims, sacrilege. It's sacrilege. Yeah. It is straight up disrespect to everything and all things Batman. So I'm going to end it there. This has been a 2 a.m. stream. I'd like to thank everybody who came in the chat. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate you. And I will talk to you all tomorrow, 2 a.m. And my name is Randy Brown for Cameraman 2021 and the Mayor of Magic. And I will see you later, alligator. All right. Bye.